Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your mowers have practically built themselves.
Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Welcome to today's show. Today I'm going to bring you up to speed on what I'm doing with, well, let's just call it my Battleship Row project. Now, years ago, we all know I've been very interested in Pearl Harbor history, World War II history, since I was a kid. And Battleship Row in particular. Years ago, I took the old 426 scale Arizona, like everyone else, built it up. But I wanted to do the entire Battleship Row. So probably, 20, 25 years ago, I modified a couple of those Arizonas into an Oklahoma and a Nevada. Thank you. The Nevada turned out pretty good, but I never did quite finish the Oklahoma. At the time, 3/50th scale, 1/350th scale just wasn't. I mean, you had like the Missouri from Tamiya, and I think you had the Enterprise, the CV65, but you didn't have a lot in 3/50th scale back then. So I chose to go with the 1/425 scale. The rest of Battleship Row I made out of acrylic sheet. We'll go through that someday. I'll tell you how I did all that. Anyway, it was at a display for the Olympics that were held here in 2002. They were on display at the Olympic Village, actually. There's a little museum up there, and I had put it up on December 7th, and it was up through the Olympics, which was really cool for me. The one thing that there was in 1/350th scale back then was the California. So it was sitting off to the side anyway. Little different scale, really didn't hurt. So fast forward, and I started to collect as they would come out. I would collect the different ships in 1/350th scale, so I could eventually build Battleship Row in 1/350th scale. Now you've seen the Vestal that I did. I've covered a few of the other ones, just starting them here and there. One of the ships is the Tennessee. I had an extra California kit. It was partially built. Finally, I'm getting around to turning it into the Tennessee. So that's what we're going to look at today. Is my progress. It's about 90% finished now, but not completely. But my progress on the USS Tennessee as it was fit out in December 7th, 1941. So stick with Mad Dog Merv as we look at the USS Tennessee. Here's what I'm trying to recreate. This was back in 2002 at the Fort Douglas Military Museum. I had done Battleship Row here in 1/425 scale. The Vestal and the Arizona is actually the one I borrowed from my friend Chris Allred, but the others are ships that I had built. So now I want to recreate this in 1/350th scale. Let's take a look at what I've got so far. So these two ships here, the California and the Tennessee. The Tennessee is just another California kit that I picked up. So here it is. I started to change the bridge on it at one point in time. You can see how filthy it is. And here's my California. We're going to go through and show you how I clean all of this first. All right, we're going to take a look at what I have here. So, 20 plus years ago, I got this resin. It was I can't remember which one. I think it was the California. But I built it as the California, and I used dark gunship gray to simulate measure 1, because back then we didn't have these fancy colors and paints that we do now. So we just did the best we could to guess with the good old Tester's bottle paint we had. So
You know, it is a pretty good rendition of Measure 1 Faded. I will give it that. And my wooden deck, and you can see how much dust and grime is on this thing from sitting out here for so long. You can also see back in the days when I didn't prime my resin before painting, how the paint's just chipping right on up. So yeah, there's the California. And here is Tennessee. Now this was another California kit, two-piece hull. You can see here is the brake, and it broke where the brake is. If that makes any sense. But I did paint this deck up in blue, and again the Measure 1 scheme. You can see big gap there that I got to fill, and some problems here I got to repair. So there's a lot of work to do. Now these are waterline versions. I either didn't get the holes or I threw the holes away years ago, the lowers, because I was going to do Battleship Row as waterline, and then I ran into a couple of kits that just didn't give you the option of an upper and lower, but a one-piece hull. And in resin, I didn't want to be, putting it across the bandsaw for that amount of time. So, anyway, you can see how filthy this is. Some of the photo etch has been knocked off. And at least I collected the pieces and parts. So in here, we have a good boat deck, resin boat deck, and I'm not sure which ship this would be for, but I have a cage mast from the California, one for the Tennessee. I have my upper works here for the California, and it looks like I got most of the upper works here for the Tennessee, and the missing smokestacks as well. A few other pieces and parts. So it's a good opportunity to do some painting, and of course we're going to be doing some cleaning here, and then we'll bring these things back to life. Now, of note, while I was finding these, I ran into my instructions for the Vestal. Yay for me. And moreover, I ran into the extra parts on the, not extra, but the parts of the Hornet that I couldn't find. They are right here. Oh man, that's the problem with having so much stuff and not enough room, is sometimes it doesn't get where it belongs. So, and there's a bunch of photo etch for some of these large battleships. Not sure which one it's from, but there's like 2 or 3 sheets here. So, we're in good shape. Now the work begins. Okay, so I've got some mild detergent, dishwashing detergent in here. I did add a little bit of rubbing alcohol and then just water. I call this my wet water, which is just water and soap. I need some of those scrubbing bubbles, okay? So, if anybody knows where I can get, good old scrubbing bubbles that won't eat the paint, or, well, I guess it doesn't matter at this point, but that won't damage this thing. I don't want anything that's butyl based. I'm going to spray this all down. And normally I'd get out a an old toothbrush. Thank goodness I pay attention and don't grab a new toothbrush, because that would taste kind of yucky. Can you see up here the grime that's just starting to come off? Whoops. I'm busting little parts, so I'll put those aside here. Some of the photo etch is loose and coming off. I still want to be careful because I'm trying not to, you know, destruct the whole thing, take it all apart. Just trying to give it a good cleaning. In doing so, I'm taking parts off. Holy cow. But you get the idea. I'm tearing up a bunch of paint here. So anyway, I'm going to continue on doing this. See the difference in the two sides? Pretty neat. I'm going to continue on doing this off camera. Okay, there's that. Just using my Iwata airbrush with nothing in it, just the compressed air from the compressor to dry out, for the most part, this deck after washing and scrubbing and rinsing. And all I did to rinse was took a cup of some soapy water and dumped it on there to kind of rinse all that. And then, as you saw, I blew the whole thing down. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of the deck that has peeled up. So we're going to have to go back and we're going to have to fix that, which means probably an entire repaint of the deck. And there's a few little pieces that have come off. I saved all of them. So we've got a lot of work to do on this. It's looking like we're going to have to take a lot of parts off just to get the painting done. So it'll be... a pretty hefty rebuild here. So here's the box of parts that I had. The boat deck is actually to the Nevada, but you can see I've got most of the parts here, so I'm not too worried about being able to fix it. I do have this extra bridge that I had in my spare parts. Yes, I've got 3/50th scale resin spare parts. Don't judge me. Anyway, what I want to try to do is, so the Tennessee, there's this memo that came out. She went through a camouflage trial in November of 41, and this talks about her being painted in the dark blue, or in the blue with the blue decks and some other things. You can stop it and read it. It is quite interesting, actually. So this is what I want it to look like. This is actually a rendition done by a gentleman who belongs to a group of historians that studies ship's camouflage, and so I know these guys have got this right, and this is how I want it to look. So the blue deck, the white turret tops, although turret number 4 is actually going to wind up being blue, but I wanted to paint it white first, obviously. One thing that's going to come up here is, notice this picture of the Pennsylvania and all of these earlier battleships. This was about 1940. Notice how nice and white the deck is, but the bridge area, all those dark areas up there, that's linoleum. That's linoleum. Now, did they have it on December 7th, or had it been painted over? That's a subject of a lot of debate. I'm choosing to go ahead and put linoleum decks around the bridge. So that's what I'm going to do. And you can see here the 3 different bridges that I've got. So I've got plenty of parts and reference material. And so I'm going to start out here by making an adjustment with some sheet styrene for this portion of the deck. And for another portion here, we're going to cut this piece out. We're going to use the pilot house in the middle of this resin piece, and everything else I'm cutting out. And here it is. Here it is assembled. Looks pretty close to what it should look like, so I'm going to be okay with it. Although Model Monkey makes a great bridge for this,
I chose to do it this way, do it on my own. And you can see the difference between the California's bridge here on the bottom and the Tennessee's on the top. So not a lot of difference, but there is some slight differences that I had to make the change. So you can see the 3-inch 50 anti-aircraft gun there in its tub. You can see that I've got some of the ladders put on the bridge area. Most of the painting in that area is done. The 5-inch 51 secondary battery, this is the white metal that came in the Iron Shipwright kit, so I'm going to go ahead and straighten these barrels out and just go ahead and use them. So you can see those here, how they turned out, and just some of the other detail here that I still have a long way to go, but how some of the other detail looks. Now the ladders, Tom's Model Works makes just some ladders, so I assembled a bunch of those so I'd have them.
All right, folks, here is where we're at. We're not even, I'd say we've got another 10 or 15% of this project to do. You can see here I've come up short on the chain. I've got some more down in my office. I need to add to that. But anyway, so we've got the anchors on. Let's see, we've got it in deck blue. The decking fixtures I went ahead and did with the 5S. I still need to paint, as you can see, paint the gun barrels. There's one in 5S and there's a couple in gray. So we've still got a little work to do there. Lots of details we have to add. But here's the bridge, how it turned out. Not too bad. Again, some work we still have to do. Lots of, some railings we got to put in. The boat slips we've got to put in. Here, this is interesting. You'll see. So here we've got 5S on a lot of the ship already, but I have not had a chance to repaint this yet. So this is still in the gray, the dark gray. I think this is gunship gray. I don't think it's dark gunship gray. I think this was gunship gray is what I painted these originally. You can see I'm going to have to get a new fighting top here. But the 3-inch 50s turned out pretty good. These are resin pieces from, I can't remember which one of these kits it came with. Probably the, I can't remember the kit now that they came with. And I can't find the rest of them here. So anyway, they're here somewhere. Oh, I think these came with my Oklahoma. Okay, so here's what they looked like. These are not the 3D printed ones I've got that are really nice. I haven't tried those out yet. Anyway, we've got some ladders on. Still have a few ladders to put in. And definitely some touch-ups on the paint. True blue on the rear turret, which most of my research shows, yes, true blue would be the correct color, but then there's others contradicting information out there, so that say that it was red. I'm going with the true blue for now until something changes. And you can see I just barely got this on here, and some of the kicker is still drying. But that's where we're at on this beast. Coming along pretty nicely. Just to show you on the California, obviously it's sitting here waiting to get its turn. I did get the deck repainted, and that's about it. And some of the details on the bridge. But anyway, the sister ship.